Hi, I'm Ted Wolf, presented by Guidewise. Welcome to the Implementors podcast, where we connect you to the stories and insights of people who have mastered implementation. Why? Because ideas are easy, but implementation is hard. Join us as we uncover the secrets of successful implementation so you can conquer your implementation struggles. Today on the Implementors podcast, we're joined by a CRO who isn't waiting for the future of sales. He's actually building it. Tim Wilson is the Chief Revenue Officer at ProductWind, a fast-growing e-commerce enablement platform that's helping brands navigate retail algorithms, modern marketing, and the complexity of omni-channel growth. But behind his title is a track record of helping each tech company scale themselves in a smart and fast manner. From leading sales at hypergrowth startups like Pattern and Commerce IQ, which, by the way, hit a $1 billion plus valuation, to advising AI-first companies reshaping e-commerce, Tim has spent the last decade at the intersection of data, go-to-market strategy, and enterprise customer success. In this episode, we dive into how AI is showing up in sales, both practically and personally, what CROs should actually care about when evaluating new technologies, where most companies go wrong with AI, and how to lead teams through change when the future keeps shifting. If you're trying to sell, scale, or lead in the AI era, this episode is your cheat code. So Tim, welcome to the Implementors podcast.
Thanks so much, Ted. Really excited to be here today.
Well, I'm looking forward to this conversation. My background is in sales, and I think we've got a great conversation ahead of us. I'd like to start off, if I could, though, Tim, tell us about ProductWind. What does it do? What are you focused on?
So ProductWind is a software company, and what we do is we help large consumer manufacturers. Think of all the brands you might see on Amazon. We help them market to the retailer's algorithm. We essentially help them advertise their products in a new and innovative way on Walmart, Amazon, other large marketplaces.
Okay, and you are the CRO, or the Chief Revenue Officer. What functions fall under your domain?
So at ProductWind, the functions that fall under my domain would be customer success, customer onboarding. We used to have BDRs, but we'll talk about the use of AI, and we no longer have BDRs. So, but our more associate account executives, senior account executives, anything that is associated with revenue generation for the company.
Okay, so does that include the marketing, the messaging, and all those types of things?
It's funny you say that. It has to date. However, we just hired our first ever CMO. She has not yet started. She'll be starting, and I think when she begins in a few weeks here, we'll probably break out marketing to be under her purview, which I am more than happy to have happen. I'm very excited for her to join the company.
Good. Tim, tell us a little bit about the evolution of the BDR position within sales that you're seeing and within the organization.
Yeah, well, I can speak to ProductWind and what's been going on here and what I've seen happening in my related companies. But to me, the BDR position is, first, I feel compelled to say, I think it's an extremely difficult job. I have a very high amount of empathy for everyone who is in the BDR position, or for all those companies today that are out there that are acting as outsourced BDRs. It's a difficult job. You have to grind, and there's oftentimes not celebrated. The wins aren't always seen, and they're not always celebrated. So it's a tough role, but it also lays a strong foundation as an individual for what you need to be successful later in your sales career. Building out those fundamentals are extremely critical to your long-term success. For us at ProductWind, what I've seen is the role of the BDR is to generate leads, to open the door for you to have different types of conversations with people. And 20 years ago, when I was a BDR, it was a primary way to open the doors. Today, I don't see the same need for the BDR role. For example, what we're doing right now, podcasts didn't exist. There are so many different ways today that you can drive leads. Moreover, because of the amount of spam phone calls that people get and spam emails that people get, it is extraordinarily difficult to break through. And most buyers that I know start their research by talking to their spheres of influence, their friends, their different professional communities, and they are already well down the purchase funnel by the time they actually engage with the sales team. So the sales motion itself is fundamentally different than it was 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
As a result, the role of the BDR is different.
So when you're looking at the BDR today, how do you see them getting most of their conversations other than, I'll say, the networking, the referrals, which we all have to do? But is there a step before that that seems to be working best for you?
So what we've done is we've actually completely automated the BDR function at our company. We're using a lot of tech and AI. So I'll talk about that now. And then I'm also happy to go back and talk about if I were 23 and I was just, or 22 and just starting my career, what would I be doing?
Yeah.
But for ProductWind, what we've done is we're helping consumer manufacturers advertise their products in this very specific and niche way on Amazon. Let's just take a hypothetical example of Procter & Gamble has got some new Old Spice deodorant that they're going to launch on Amazon. What we've learned is that a lot of times these large consumer manufacturers, before they go with a national launch, will launch their product in a small market just to test things out. So they might launch it in, I don't know, Topeka, Kansas, making it up. What we've learned is that when they do that, the local newspaper in Topeka or local reporter will actually do a little write-up. Old Spice piloting their new blah, blah, blah deodorant here. And it's, you know, an exciting news story for that region. We subscribe instead to a news outlet that scours the web and looks for any new product announcements that happen. Once the feed comes in that we can see that Old Spice is being launched in this market, we know there's probably a national launch coming up. The software will pull out the name of the brand. We use Clay to help instrument a lot of this. If you know the Clay software, we'll pull down the name of the brand. It goes out, looks on LinkedIn to identify the brand, and if appropriate, the parent manufacturer like Procter and Gamble. And we've fed a bunch of information and intelligence in, so it can then identify who are the people on LinkedIn that are most likely associated with this product and the product launch. Looking at brand manager titles, look at e-commerce directors, et cetera. And then we'll automatically create a list of people through LinkedIn that we think are involved with the software. And it kicks off a customized email sequence to those people saying, I noticed this launch is happening here in Topeka. This is what we do to help you launch it nationally to drive more traffic and conversion on sites like Walmart and Target, et cetera. So the whole process that a person has historically done, or at least that's what I did when I was doing the job, you know, in the 90s, is now just all done through software, and it works well. So that's how we do BDR at ProductWind.
Okay, so the technology and what you feel is proprietary is perfectly okay. Don't mention it. But do you use Sales Navigator? Do you have other software platforms that you prefer or that you really focus on?
The primary software that we use is, LinkedIn Sales Navigator to me is just foundational. To me, not having that would be like going back to the 90s and telling a sales guy you can't have a phone. And in addition to that, like the core elements for us are, it all runs through Clay. We have other industry specific things that we use, like Smart Scout, that helps us understand their online presence that I don't know. So we have other tools that we use to help provide the texture or the context for any outreach to help it be a little more intelligent. But the pipes of how it all runs is through Clay.
So let's say that you're 23 years old or you have a neighbor that's 23 and they say, I want to get into sales or I want to get into revenue, what would you recommend they do?
That's a great question. So I have a nephew right now who's in college. He's interning this summer,
Mhm.
and his name is Jack. Jack's got an internship at a local company, and he's a BDR. His job is to pound the phones and to create meetings.
Mhm.
I think that's still a great place to start because it teaches you a lot about sales. You learn a lot about um, how to position things. You learn a lot about how hard. I mean, sales is the classic example of it. Nobody being a duck, right? Your friends that you go out with, and maybe even a lot of your colleagues see you as some person who's calm and relaxed, but under the water, your feet are fluttering. There is so much work that goes into getting that call with the customer and learning how to design a territory, manage your time, structure your outreach, be data led in terms of understanding what's my open rate, what when I tweak this word in the subject, or is it better in my body of my email to suggest a time or ask for a time, or the whole Chris Voss make them say no thing is really on trend. So there's a lot that goes into the emotional IQ of how to communicate and connect with somebody that is perfect to be learned in those BDR settings. I think that's still a great way to start. In addition to that, I would argue that another great way to get into sales would be to simply find any specific project that you are passionate about and begin to evangelize about it, whether it's through your own TikTok or Instagram or YouTube channel or what have you, because so much of sales, in my opinion, is about learning how to communicate your enthusiasm and your passion about a particular topic to someone in a way that they are able to understand it and in a way that resonates with them.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
um, it's a little more off topic there. So but like
Mhm.
it's still a great way, I think, to hone your skills.
Well, I think a lot of people are trying to find their way through this whole revenue generation process. And there's so much new technology, and technology every year is changing to some degree. And that introduces the big elephant in the room, and that's AI. How is AI changing what you're doing from a day-to-day standpoint from just revenue generation?
AI is, I feel like we are still, I'm talking about me
Mhm.
and my team. I think we're still in the first inning of it. We use AI today in a lot of different ways, which I'll list in a moment. We use it in a lot of different ways, but it feels like all that we're doing is still, um, I think there can be a lot more depth and a lot more excitement around what we're doing. Right. So, for example, our customers are primarily billion-dollar plus organizations. We're selling into most of the brands that when you go to Best Buy and Target, Amazon. A lot of those brands that of are our customers, and uh, many of them are public. So if you want to go and talk to a company and ask them to give you a really big check, you typically have to be able to, you need to, there's a lot of fundamental things that you have to be right for you to ask for that check, including you being a really good business partner, you being someone who understands their business, you understand how your solution, your capability maps to their own business and where the direction they're trying to go. That research, I can remember spending forever doing things like reading 10Ks, and downloading those. It's amazing to me how great and how easy it is to download and just ask ChatGPT to give me analysis on this particular company, give me the competitors, give me the soft spots, etc. All that manual research is now done in an instant. We also, we use it a lot. We For a while there, we're using people in the Philippines, actually still are using people in the Philippines to help us a lot. And they are able to take their work that they're doing and put it in Chat GPT to help clean it up. So it's a lot of like research and communication support. We talked about how we just brought on a CMO. We're designing some marketing collateral right now before she comes on. And I, took a huge amount of information, just stuffed it into ChatGPT. And I said, please make a customer facing product roadmap for me that I can share. And then I think the important part of making, it's not just what do you use it for? It's like, how are you doing it? And I think the important part for how you do it is, um, you have to peel the onion. You have to ask a lot of questions. Once upon a time, being a software developer, software engineer was viewed as like your golden ticket in your career. And today, I think I've seen some companies call them prompt engineers. You throw engineer on, right? Being someone who knows how to ask questions and interact. Journalism majors, if you're out there and you're a child or you are yourself a journalism major, you have a great career in tech in front of you, right? Your ability to do investigative reporting is what's really needed to pull out, because it's still data in, data out. So if you're asking lazy questions, you're going to get a lazy answer. So working with the teams to really have that third, fourth, and fifth kind of follow up and iteration on your original idea is what brings out the gold.
Okay. And let's say that you're investigating AI and AI potential, artificial intelligence potential. How many different agents or bots, what do you have around you? And what are the most popular tasks that you've automated in that way?
We do a lot of data and analytics for our customers in that way, a lot of automation. So as you might imagine, in our business, somebody's going to give us a check for 5 million. They want to know if they're going to get, 50 million back or what have you. We're able to do a lot of data analysis in there and go back and be able to do ROI type of calculations that have been extremely helpful and insightful. And for a small business like us, ProductWind's a small company. We're growing, it's allowed us to augment our workforce and allowed us to be a lot more cost efficient and cost effective in that way. So that's like I would say like one of the biggest value things that we have is using it to help deliver the analytical response to ROI.
Mm-hmm. Do you have any idea how many different agents or bots you have active within the revenue function?
I really don't, to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
We've got one, with like the CRM. We've got one. I would imagine it's less than 5. It's not
Okay.
It's not prolific.
Okay. What do you see that going in the future? What do you think the future will be? I mean, people have a CRM. They have a problem getting people to put updated information, accurate information into the CRM. We know that every sizable CRM organization out there, for the most part, like a Salesforce or a HubSpot, they're developing their own umbrellas of AI around that. Where do you see that going, and with AI in particular in the revenue function?
I feel like what it's doing is it's fundamentally changing the way I think about time and value time. For me, at this point in my career, I would argue one of the single biggest differentiators between the stud sales rep who comes in at 200% of plan every year and the person that struggles to come in at 70% of plan is time management.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, there's a lot that goes into that in terms of how fast they qualify prospects in and out, but time management is a key part of it. And, one of our pieces of software that we use that I'm a huge fan of is a company called Fathom, which is call recording software. It's like a Gong, if you've heard of Gong.
Yep.
It's for us, we love it. It's got 80% of the features of Gong for 10% of the price. And so we're able to record all of our calls, but the summary notes that you get are spectacular. And I see things going back to time is it's only a matter of time before those calls happen And the summary notes today, like my rep will maybe take the summary notes, put them into ChatGPT and ask to help it create like a follow-up email to the customer and create like a sales plan based on that in terms of, so it's helping pull those things together, but that should all happen. It's happening manually today. I think it'll all happen automatically and you're starting to see it. I haven't used it yet. I'm curious, Ted, do you know ChatGPT has come out with their own call recording software? Have you used it or do you know anyone who has?
I think people are using it to various degrees. I think there's a lot of people have pilot programs, and they're not sure they're paying off. So they really don't know where to go with this whole AI thing. I personally use AI for hours every single day doing various things. I do not use a call function just yet from chat, but we have other things like Teams where we do call recording, meeting recordings and analysis and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I personally would be lost without AI right now today.
Yeah. And do you use it for like just general product search or do you use it for all like knowledge based search?
Knowledge-based search, evaluations, retrieval. I don't use Google an awful lot to retrieve things anymore. I use it actually as a role-playing mechanism in sales if I want to. I created my own board of directors, 5 members, detailed their background, things like that. And I find that very, very helpful. And it helps debrief me versus trying to get 5 people together at the same time anymore. It's pretty difficult. So for me, it works very well in that way.
That's great about the board of directors. I haven't thought of that. I do use it. It's one of the things that's helped a lot as well is I've found the call coaching to be really strong. And what's great is I've seen it get better as I feed it more. I know it's not public, but somebody wants out there, but the feedback it can give on those calls when you upload the transcripts tends to be really pretty good.
Mm-hmm. So in your experience through the years in the whole revenue generation and technology e-commerce, you mentioned the BDR. Going out there and doing that slave and getting all that rejection, it just isn't there. A lot of the technology is taking over. What do you see the role of a salesperson to be in the future?
Well, I think what's great is people talk about AI is coming for your job and, the safest job out there. I think the fastest path to being a millionaire today has got to be being a plumber or an electrician, right?
Hmm.
With sales, I think what's great about it is your AI, as far as I'm aware and what I can see, is still very much focused on like you said, it's knowledge based information that it gives you. It's able to go out and scour the web and base information. It does not yet, anyway, have the ability to have to truly understand emotion and empathy and the human element of sales is what is critical. So for me, I think. I'm sorry. Is the question where is AI going, or is where is sales going with AI?
Both, actually, they're both evolving.
Yeah. Right? Like it goes back to what I was saying before. I think it's just a time function difference now. How I spend my time is going to be different. And you're seeing it already with product led companies having extremely, extremely small sales teams.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think of a fellow that I follow on LinkedIn right now. He's got a $5.5 million reoccurring revenue business. It's a team of 3 people, him and 2 others.
Mm-hmm.
They are training their AI chatbots right now with the goal of all 3 of them are going completely offline for a week in August. And they're just going to have AI run their whole business. It's going to answer customer questions, send out SOC 2 compliance requests, right? That people will have. It's going to manage absolutely everything.
Mm-hmm.
And it's fascinating. And so I can't wait to watch. It's RB2B, and I can't remember what that stands for. But if you can follow RB2B on LinkedIn, he's extremely open about what he's doing and how he's doing it. So I think that works for a certain type of sale. For my type of sale, where
Mm-hmm.
the entry point is 50K, no one's just whipping out their credit card and doing that. So there's a core. I think for sales, what's going to happen is if you are an enterprise strategic salesperson, your quote is going to triple because your time and what you spend money on, where you spend your energy, is going to be on all the high value things and the things. Oh, and frankly, for the reason why you're hired, right? You hire salespeople for their emotional IQ and their quote unquote soft skills. And you're going to be able to play to those strengths a lot more. Hopefully we can figure out a way to automate all those call transcripts and everything to going into your CRM, to go into Salesforce. So we can maybe finally one day get totally clean data for our reporting, and analysis. That'd be great. Yeah.
So, Tim, let me ask you a couple theoretical questions here, if I can. You manage people, you guide people. You appear to be a person that would probably be like the servant leader. How can I help them actually grow themselves? You talk a lot, very freely about emotional intelligence, which is very good. How valuable would it be for you to have information along the lines of, this is an individual and I see some change in their performance, but I don't know why, but I'm all of a sudden now I'm getting really legitimate belief, emotional feedback, and I can put numbers and metrics around it. And I can see that all of a sudden their fear seems to be spiking. And I don't know why, but I got to find out. How valuable would that information be to you?
Oh, exceptional. Exceptional.
What would you do with it?
Well, look, as a manager, whether you're talking business or sports, you're an Eagles guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
The job of any manager or coach is to figure out what does your person do really well and put them in a position to do that thing really well. And then you hire to the weaknesses. That's why the Eagles went out and got Saquon Barkley. It was a weakness. Not anymore. This guy's a stud. But as a manager, it's the same thing. And so any angle or any view that I can get that helps me understand how I can put my team in a position to play more to their strength is potentially invaluable for me, because you unlock, I mean, we've all seen it. The difference between a great sales rep and a good sales rep is literally millions of dollars of production. So imagine figuring out how to take all your good sales reps and free them, release them from that, whether it's a subconscious or, structure or system that you have in place, but free them from that so that they can really be the best version of themselves. Like, it's a potentially huge unlock. And I would love to be able to do that today. I don't know how to do it other than through one-on-ones and like some, reading the tea leaves kind of situation.
Yeah. So there's a method to my madness. Just follow me along here. Another question for you. Let's say that you have a salesperson, and for some reason we've all met them and we've all managed them, or perhaps have been them, where they have real difficulty asking the tough closing conversations or just having those tough heart-to-heart conversations. And we don't know why. We're coaching them. We're trying to encourage them. We're doing everything we can, but nothing works. How valuable would it be to you to be able to go back and then say, wait a minute, we see in your patterns, belief patterns, behavior patterns, it seems like you may have a fear of failure. Do you know how many people are probably in sales that have a fear of failure? So they keep themselves busy. They have lousy B and C type of clients or prospects, I should say, that'll never close, but they're busy so they don't have to deal with the closing thing. How valuable would it be to be able to pinpoint some of that with some pretty close accuracy and metrics that back that up?
I would love that. Even I'll say, I mean, of course, that would be great, right? I mean, many salespeople innately have this strong desire to be liked, so they avoid conflict and they'll avoid the discussion.
Yep.
So what I would love to see, even before we get to what you're talking about, and maybe this is what you're alluding to, but I would love to figure out how to screen for that gene inside of somebody in the interview process, right? Does this person, I mean, I live in San Diego, but I'm from the Northeast. I tell everyone, like, I live in San Diego, but I'm from New England. I'm from Boston. And I think there's a reason, there's something to kind of that New Yorker, Philly kind of Northeast corridor mentality of being comfortable in conflict, I guess is a nice way to put it.
Yeah.
That actually helps, because a salesperson, this is a trap that like a younger person might come into in their career, is the prospect that you talk to that's super nice and just gives you all the time in the world, or everything, every time you get on the phone with them, they say what you're doing is so great, is actually not a great prospect at all. They're killing your time. That's not true. No one has the absolute perfect company, system, process, and product. Like, how does this line up? Like, what you need the person who will tell it to you straight. And that's why I love going on customer visits to people in the Northeast, because I will find out in the first 5 minutes of meeting, like, are things really going well or not? And the only way you improve is when somebody says they're not, right? Like, I need to know what's not great. And so, yeah, man, I love what you're saying. I would love it. I would love it in the interview process too.
So then when you turn from salespeople, you come to clients.
Yeah.
Sometimes clients don't tell you the truth all the time.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
A lot of hidden agendas that you got to kind of sort through.
Yeah.
How valuable would it be for you to be able to also have information or feedback, extrinsic feedback from the outside, client, vendor, anybody in your supply chain, that you will be able to see what their emotional patterns and belief patterns are, and you'll be able to start correlating. We've had a change, and here's what that change seems to be in their behavior, in their conversations. We even noticed that the number of emails flying back and forth, whether it be in Slack or not, it's changing, and we're not having the same depth conversations. And here's what we can do with AI now to be able to look at this and say, based on the way they're responding to these client survey, questions and surveys, we can see percent of alignment they have with our core values as a business. There's a breakdown here. This isn't working the way it should be. Would that be insightful and helpful to you?
I feel like, is this like leading to some big reveal that you guys have? Like, is this, I mean, I feel like we're getting like total recall mode here. In the future, I mean, yeah, of course, anytime you can get a true view into what's going on in your customer's mind, it's so helpful. Which is, like you mentioned before, about the stereotypical kind of New Yorker type of thing. I want to know what's real. And what's interesting is that when you're doing, depending on what type of sale you have, but especially if it's a sale that involves multiple people, multiple stakeholders, or people say multi-threading, et cetera, there's so much involved with the context of what they're saying. They maybe leave, I don't know, you ever watch Seinfeld?
Yeah.
George Costanza's got a great line. He's like, Jerry, remember, it's not a lie if you believe it. So,
George has a lot of great lines.
Oh, he does, yeah. George divided cannot stand.
Right.
But if you go, so my point is, like, the prospects, you be in that conversation and they may believe it, but as soon as you hang up, the context of the conversation changes because their boss or their peer has said something or some new information has come to light. So yeah, anytime you can get a more 360 view or more context of what's happening behind the scene, that is fantastic. And if you know at all how to do it, please reach out. Find me on LinkedIn and like send me, I'm happy to be your beta customer.
So where I'm going with a lot of this is that in the future, I think when AI gets really, really fine-tuned, and that's going to be short-term, we're going to see a lot of changes. This information is going to be a regular thing, and that's going to give people a lot of time, which they don't have today, to work on their territory versus just in their territory. And that comes down to people adoption. How resilient am I to change? We all know in sales, you have great cycles where everything's closing. Then all of a sudden you go through 2 or 3 months and you can't get anything to close.
Yeah.
And that destroys a lot of people mentally and emotionally. But if they have the tools to work through that, all of a sudden the meaning of work in sales and revenue generation changes dramatically. Because let's face it, sales is generally a mindset. It's all about psychology and mindset. How can I keep myself steady? So if I get these tools, then I can work on my territory, meaning I can qualify out B and C accounts that I'm always going to be working on, but never get a close on. All of a sudden, I have more time. I'm calmer. I have these tools now of feedback on myself, and you as a manager have that. So all of a sudden, I think the whole trade and the caliber of salesperson and requirements of what they do changes. That's a big shift. a big shift in what historically has been sales within most companies. Do you find that same thing?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that what you're sharing right now is spot on. I would push back a little bit in the
Mm-hmm.
sense that I would expect my managers, or if I'm managing a team, and if I see that my team, my the sales rep on my team is spending time with wrong accounts or is avoiding the tough questions, doesn't know how to close, those are all things that you should still be able to pick up through being an involved sales manager. How that scales up when you have larger teams and bigger companies, I'm unsure of. But I do think that what you're bringing forward that I do find interesting is uh, the way that I'm able to identify the time management, the avoidance of conflict, working on the wrong accounts, or just emotionally being out of it because they've had a couple of, you know, they got robbed of a couple of hits, let's say, right? And they're in a
Mm-hmm.
dry spell. I know it's
Mm-hmm.
hard. It's hard for a manager to be on top of all those different kind of emotional factors for all of your reps,
Mm-hmm.
right? So what you're bringing forward is almost like a more of a analytical way to identify that, see it, and then if you can identify it in some type of analytical way, then you can also then likely find leading indicators of those future behaviors and those things. So you can start to move upstream and become more proactive instead of reactive, which is the world that I live in today is very reactive. Hey, I'm noticing this. Hey, I'm noticing that.
Mm-hmm.
And it can be hard. So I'm super interested by kind of that analytical approach and the proactive possibility of it.
Mm-hmm.
What it's about.
What we're finding when we see organizations doing things like this, the whole manner of recruiting changes.
Oh
They're
yeah,
not they're not selling a sales position anymore. They're saying we really care about you as a person. We care about a balance of life. We care about this whole family thing from the standpoint that you'll have time to spend some time with family that are meaningful, because if you can learn these tools and apply them to yourself, your job becomes easier. AI, the technology side, complements the EQ side.
yeah,
So all of a sudden, I am in effect beginning to manufacture consciously the behaviors of high performing salespeople because they intuitively get a lot of that stuff.
yeah. No, that's a great call out, and not only is the recruiting process different, but um, just I guess it's the recruiting process because the entire I'm just thinking about like our recruiter Suzanne, for example, her entire job would just look very different.
Mhm.
It would look very different. It would be very different. So, I wonder, have you seen any germs of this or seeds of this out there?
Oh yeah, definitely. I can just talk about organizations in general that I'm familiar with. This goes beyond even the sales realm. This goes into plant floor type of thing. They had turnover of 152% per year, believe it or not.
What?
Yeah. And it's heavy manufacturing,
Yeah.
hard labor on the floor. In 90 days, they got it down to 57% because they started talking to people differently and they started going through these whole processes of developing more of that mindset and how to get out of the trap, if you will, of apathy and anger and
Yeah.
blame, and being able to go back and say, okay, here's some guidance to do or to go forward in how you're going to balance out the way you think, feel, and act. It's dramatic change, and everybody intuitively wants this information. I found that they
That is
want that, but they're not getting it. They don't know where to get it, and business is going to be the next place, I believe, from what I'm seeing and talking to people. That's what's going to happen.
that is super fascinating. I mean, because it's not just to go back to the implementers. It's not just what they did; it's like how they did it. Because the implementation of everything is important.
Yes.
I have 3 young children at home, and my wife is constantly reminding me, It's not just what I say, it's how I say it.
Yep.
Well, I'm working,
That's it.
and so how they're, and it's not just how the people are saying it, but their workforce, credit to the people they did hire, because you have to be open to receiving and hearing people as well. So there's actually a lot that goes into that. I would love to
Mm-hmm.
learn
Mm-hmm.
a lot more about them. Yeah.
What I've also found in a lot of people we've talked to, sales and revenue are very keen because this is just the way you think if you're in sales. But some people who are in other, I'll say, functional areas of the business, it's very foreign to them. They have difficulty grasping some of these things, which I find is very interesting. And I think it comes down to just that intrinsic. Here's what motivates me. I got to get myself up. I got to go through these rehearsals. And you do that before a sales call all the time. That mental preparation that you got to go through so you can be on top of your game and show up like it's game day. The Eagles are playing. It's game day. I got to play today now.
Yeah.
That's just something the salesperson does naturally. That's not something everybody in an organization does. But I found if they are taught how to do it, they will do it.
Yeah. It's so funny you say that. I've said for years when people like big meeting, like you don't call in sick to the Super Bowl. Right? They show like, you don't call in sick to the Super Bowl. But I would also say client success people, sales people, anybody involved in go to market as a natural, not to say other departments can't be the same way, but if you are in go to market, marketing, CS, sales, you are, you kind of over index on being a little bit more of like a people person or empathy or emotional. So anything that plays to you tapping, again, being able to tap into that innate strength of yours and play to your strength, you're going to be more just naturally open to.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it is, yeah.
So in a little conversation before we started recording here today, you told me one of your favorite things. It's the journey of taking, I'll say, a smaller business and building them into a bigger business. Tell me a little bit about that journey that you go through from an emotional standpoint, or just how you find yourself acclimating to the growth, and helping them grow their business. What does that mean to you?
Well, what it means to me is it's just I love helping people. I uh, I got into sales because I I thought of myself. I went to school. I went to college to be a teacher. I wanted to be a teacher. Um,
Mm-hmm.
my mother was a teacher. I I ended up marrying a teacher. I don't know. Freud would probably have a field day with me, but being a teacher was honestly it was too hard. It was too hard. So I married into a family. Her sister's a teacher. Her parents, like, it's hard. And when you think about it, if you think of anybody listening right now, think of go back to like your middle school or maybe high school is better. Think of like your favorite teacher. It's not the teacher that gave you the easy A, right? It's not the teacher that was always jerk. It was a teacher that pushed you. They were tough, but they were fair, right? Maybe it was a coach for you for playing a sport.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And if you think of the attributes of your favorite teacher or your favorite coach, those are the exact same attributes of a good salesperson.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same thing. And so for me, that transition came over. And what I love about being at these smaller companies and helping people with their journey is it allows me to kind of play that role, if you will, and play it in a way that allows me to be extremely creative. Like, what this company ProductWind was doing when I joined them 3 years ago is very different than what we're doing now, right? Like the customers that we're servicing, the sales motion, the price point, everything about it. Like we have an entirely different ICP, all of that. And when you're at a company that's small and growing, you can change really fast. And that creativity and being able to kind of move the chess pieces on the board is what like really lights me up.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So when you take them from, I'm going to theoretically make this up, 1 to 10 million or 10 to 50 million,
Uh-huh.
there's obviously setbacks along the way.
Oh yeah.
Nothing goes in a straight line.
Oh yeah.
How do you mentor them or guide them back to sanity and saying, get yourself together, take a breath. We lost the game. It starts right now. We're preparing for the next game. How do you do that? And what's that feel like to you?
Well, there are You kind of have two different audiences, oversimplifying, but I'm typically working with the founder or the CEO, and it's super important to over communicate with your CEO what you're doing, getting their involvement. They still know the business better than you do, even if you've been around. Like in my case, Jason just knows, it's his baby. He just knows it better. So it's really a collaborative process. You have to have a point of view and be able to come and share your point of view and describe what you want to do and why, but you have to have the CEO coming along with you on that journey. That's audience one and what's important. And so if things don't go well, right? We made a couple moves early here that did not work out. Obviously, it's disappointing, but it's almost like the CEO gets it because he or she was like coming along with me for the ride and understood the context of the decision that we were having, right? Like when we made that decision 2 months ago, 3 months ago, it made a ton of sense. The status quo has since changed and it no longer makes sense, right? And it changed in a way we didn't forecast. So that's point one. Point two, the other audience would be kind of the rest of the company, especially your sales team. And when you're making changes there, you cannot, it is impossible. It is literally not possible for you to over communicate the why and helping them. And you can, it's a critical because you need them to come along with you on the journey and not just to come along with you in a superficial way. So you have to be able to communicate the why to get their buy-in and to go on that expedition with you. So that's what I do. And for me, I just am. I don't know. This is literally what I thrive on. I don't know how else to describe it. But taking a company from 1 to like 20 or 30 million is like the most fun thing. And fortunately, I have a wife who knows how to deal with me.
Very good. Well, you married well, then you made a good decision, right?
I married up for sure. Yeah.
Good. Tim, we had a great conversation here. We talked in the beginning about the beginning of a CRO. How does it work? What's the technology involved? Evolved to a little bit about the evolution of what a BDR role might be in the future, using that title that may not exist. We talked a little bit about the emotional component of sales and marketing, things like that. And we talked about how thrilled you are, and it comes through. Help somebody go from 1 to 10, 10 to 20, 30, $40 million, just watch them grow. What's the future look like for you? What do you see yourself doing in the future?
I want to keep doing this. Like I love this. I'm on a great ride right now. I'm sure it'll end at some point and I'll want to just keep going. To me, there's nothing more fun or for me to play to my strengths better than helping some company figure out how to best position and sell themselves. And I'll keep doing that.
Great. And if somebody wants to talk to you personally, what's the best way to contact you?
Find me on LinkedIn, Timothy Wilson, at ProductWind. Be happy to chat.
Very good. Tim, thank you very much for your time. Great conversation.
Yeah.
Great conversation. Thank you.
Yeah, I loved being on. Thanks so much, Ted. Appreciate it.
Thank you for watching this episode of Implementors. If you found this conversation valuable, please click the like button. It helps others facing similar challenges discover and benefit from these conversations. We also welcome your insights and reflections, so please share your thoughts in the comments. We truly value thoughtful engagement from leaders like you. If these conversations resonate with the work you're doing, subscribe to the channel and click the bell icon to stay updated on future episodes. And if someone in your network would benefit from this dialogue, consider passing it along. Great implementation and execution always starts with great conversations. And at the end of the day, ideas are just the beginning. It's implementation and execution that drives meaningful results. So thanks again for joining us. We'll see you next time. And as always, stay grounded, stay curious, and keep implementing.